yesterday that I was going to post, but why not just record as well. So obviously the web design field is absolutely massive. It used to literally just be like, you're a web designer, you're a print designer, but it's most definitely not that way anymore. So, and more so in the last few years in regards to the web field. So over the last few years, the work flow to create a website has become more standardized. So while not all web design processes will be the same from company to company, it's necessary to keep a project within scope, make it profitable, and to define stages of website development. Saying that, does anybody know what a workback schedule is? No, there's some like a couple blank stares, and probably some hard no's. Oh, we got a chat here. Maybe yes, no. So a workback schedule, let me see if I can just pull one up right now. I could pull up one of my own, but it's easier to Google. A workback schedule is essentially an outline of all your projects. So you could essentially create a workback schedule for everything in this course. You could outline everything in all of your courses. So you define your dates. When you're working with the team, you're defining the people in your team. And they're generally like a big Excel sheet. So this is what, let's use this one, for example. So you would have your discovery phase. So you have, this would say be the beginning of your project. That's what discovery, it's called discovery. So this is where you essentially, you have your kickoff, you analyze the project, your strategy, your strategic direction. Generally, you have the duration, the owner, that's who's going to take on that task. So this is like all cut off. And then you have your dates. So you have week 1 all the way through to the end of the project. And then you essentially just block your time off. So you know that the project analysis is going to take 4 weeks, and person with the initials MN is going to take that. And then it goes over this. So this way you can see where things overlap. Because lots of times in these big projects, things do overlap. And when you're working with a team, it's nice to be very clear as to who's taking on what tasks. So sorry, I kind of digressed there, but that's most definitely something you guys will probably be doing next semester maybe, but you will be doing it with me if I'm still teaching the agency in 6th semester. So you might just keep it back here. So if we think of the web design industry as, for instance, Walmart, there's tons of different departments. So each person has their own skill. We've got automotive, we've got pharmacy, etc. All of those skill sets dive into what Walmart actually is. And it's the same as a web design process. The same is true with the web design industry. There's so many different disciplines and categories and job titles available. You've got designer, strategist, front-end, web developer, etc. You don't need to read all of those, but there's so much involved nowadays, especially because we are diving really into the reason why people are clicking things, why they're clicking things. It really rationalizes why you've placed something somewhere. And then obviously you bring in the specialist to code things, to, you know, who's going to do this task when it comes down to, you know, maybe programming a monthly calendar, but the other person's going to do all the other development. So everyone has a task, and it's a pretty big task when you get into large websites, obviously. So within our process, we've got our planning phase. That's obviously kind of like I was showing you in that workback schedule. We've got our client meetings, the analysis, we're collecting all of our data. Then we have our design phase, which is our wireframe layout, the prototype, and then we have design sign off. This is very, very general. Phase 1 still has a lot more. We've got, you know, when it says analysis, that has like a laundry list of things that go with that. But this is just kind of in a nutshell. From development, we get into coding, laying out the main sections, our client feedback. And then our phase 4, we get down into the design quality, how it translates into the web, our testing, because we always need our testing, and then approval, and then maintenance comes with, once you launch a website, lots of times you might have kind of be on a retainer with a company, and monthly you're going into their website, updating plugins, updating imagery, making sure, you know, their blog is updating, something like that. So from the planning stage of things, we define the goals and purposes. We figure out who the site's for, their requirements. Perhaps we're going to review the analytics. We do some surveying, interviewing, etc. We figure out where that content and images are coming from. Do they have a bank? Is someone writing the content still? Then we create that site map, that site journey. Then we develop or determine the site technology. So also just take note, this isn't all up to you to do this. These are for big sites. And again, there's different people that will know how to do each of these tasks. Then we review with our client, make changes, and then we sort out the delivery time. And that's where we work through that whole work back schedule. So in design, we develop the wireframes and the comps. Obviously, it's indicating where content will go. We can use lots of different platforms, like I said, probably at the beginning of the semester. Figma, Sketch, and XD, probably the big ones right now. Then you do your high fidelity. So low-fi comps would be your grayscale wireframes. Your high fidelity, hi-fi comps would be everything's done, your images are in there, your colors are in there, etc. And then we can use a service like Envision. So we use Envision to prototype. So that's where we make our site essentially clickable. It's not actually a functioning website. You'll use Envision if you're working in Sketch or probably Photoshop or anything else. We're going to be using XD, and you can do your prototyping straight from there. Then, of course, we have our development. So we got hosting and domain to think about, anything like plugins we need to think about. If you have a commerce site, maybe they want to ensure they can do BOGO offers or different sales. You'll probably need a separate plugin to be able to program that into your site. Your staging server, for instance. So say if I'm redeveloping the Walmart website, I'm not going to go redeveloping it while people are still needing to visit the website. I'm going to have my own staging server where all of that building is going to happen, and then essentially gets moved over once the site goes live. And then once we launch, we apply those SEO and analytic package, any other services that the client might request. Obviously, we test prior to launching. So we test on all different platforms. Adobe Internet Explorer used to be a nightmare browser where no matter what you did with any website, it would always go haywire, like a box would end up down here. So we make sure we test on lots of platforms. And then we can test or present those testing results, fix anything that needs to happen, and then boom, we launch. And then, like I mentioned earlier, getting into maintenance if needed from the client, or if wanted from the client. It's always nice to kind of go ahead and propose that sort of thing, because it could just be money in the pocket. So, you propose, here's X amount, what I would charge if I'm going to maintain your site on a monthly basis. This gives you 5 hours a month or more, and then they can say yay or nay. Any questions?